Welcome into the Non-League Papers, Non-League Goalmouth, our weekly show, our weekly catch-up. My name is Matt Badcock. I'm the editor-at-large at the Non-League Paper. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague and our executive editor, John Couch. Hi, Couch. How are you?
Hi, mate. You okay?
Very well, thank you. First thing to say is thank you very much for all the comments and views that we've had so far on our embryonic YouTube channel that we've recently set up. So we appreciate all that support, and if you can subscribe and like and tell all your friends about us, we'd be much appreciated. We're a weekly check-in. We'll have some guests as we go down through the season, and really excited to keep building on this early start. And Couch, you've had a busy week. You were at Forest Green on Tuesday to meet the new manager, who was.
I was, Robbie Savage. Robbie Savage.
Wow, who saw it coming? Who saw that coming?
He's in. I know. What a surprise! He's in the National League. It's it must admit, I was a bit shocked at first. I couldn't quite understand why he would make that move until I met him, really, and we sat down along with a number of other press people and sat down, and it kind of made sense, and he was great. He was he answered every single question from every journalist. He didn't leave until everyone was happy with what they had. He did it with a smile on his face, and so it's great to have a high profile man in a big hot seat. He's got big ambitions. Be interesting to see when he goes up against his old mucker Mark Hughes, because I think both of them are going to be in promotion contention. They've certainly got lofty ambitions, and so I think those two could be an interesting dynamic this season. But no, he was great. It was really good to meet him. I've never met him before. And Dale Vince as well, the owner down there, and it's interesting project they've got lined up. Big ambitions, which Robbie's obviously bought into, and good luck to him. But Macclesfield, I think it's fair to say that the news didn't go down great in Macclesfield, as you'd imagine after the season they just had. But them too, they're still a very big fish in National League North circles, and with John Rooney in charge, that they're going to push on to bigger things as well. So big week all round, really.
Yeah, I think, like you say, Macclesfield, the owner Rob Smethurst has kind of did a YouTube that went out around the time of the announcement, and he was obviously saying lots of nice things about Savage and kind of what he's done and achieved there. But you definitely sort of got the sense that there was a little bit of frustration, possibly because of how recently he signed a new deal at the club. Obviously, the promotion from last season, the way they did that, kind of probably wasn't unexpected. They were sort of streets ahead in sort of terms of personnel that they brought in over the summer. Michael Clegg had obviously brought a lot of them in before and kind of assembled that squad that then Robbie Savage has sort of taken on. And all credit to him for kind of coming in and getting his hands dirty in non-league. But it was they were nailed on favourites for the title, and that's the way it proved. They've got a lot of very talented players there, clearly, and obviously, and obviously still got to go out and do it on the pitch, of course. But
I mean, you also signed a new 2-year deal last month. So
so you kind of sort of got that there's that bit of frustration there, wasn't there? That kind of some Mac fans obviously won't be too happy about it, and you can kind of see that FA Cup draw in a couple of trophy draw or something
written all over it, isn't it?
Can you imagine that if they sort of met in the first round of the FA Cup or something like that in a few months' time? That'd be it's kind of, it still feels like it's written in the stars in a way. But I can see why they're Macclesfield aren't happy. But as you say, Robbie Savage, from his point of view, the ambition to try and he wants to be a Football League manager, doesn't he? And he thinking Forest Green gives him the opportunity to do that as quickly as possible, kind of thing. So
I mean, I think that was probably part of the frustration. I think if he'd have turned around and said, I'm going to go to an Oldham or thinking that just down the road, Swindon Town, for example, then I think I could probably understand that. I think it was the fact that it was Forest Green who were only a division above them, pull in fewer crowds than Mac do. Arguably are they a bigger club than Macclesfield? I think that was probably part of the frustration. But Robbie was very open to say, I've had offers. I've turned down big offers from League 1 and 2, and he obviously felt that Forest Green was the right project for him. He knew the club well from his boy Charlie played on loan there 2 seasons ago. Felt very much at home, and that was where the relationship started. Obviously, Mark Bowen then going in as director of football last month. That was probably the final piece of the jigsaw, and he's decided to make his move, and as I say, not gone down too well as you say, but that's football, isn't it? And it moves on very quickly.
It is, and as you say, really interesting to see kind of how it pans out, and everybody knows what the ambition is there at Forest Green. It is to get promoted back to the Football League as quickly as possible. It took them from when Dale Vince's investment came in. It took them a little while, and they had some near misses, and went to Wembley and lost, and then went back there and beat Tranmere to get up into the Football League. And obviously since then went bounce on into League 1, didn't they, as well? And then they've sort of had these back-to-back relegation. So last year playoffs, what happened in that Southend semi-final, will be in the forefront of a lot of people's minds this season. They'll be wanting to get that right, but it's a division where as we're saying, Mark Hughes of Carlisle and the way they've come down and sort of the investment there, signings they've been making, York, the signings they've been making as well, shows their intent. And it is going to be a really fascinating National League next year with, say, big names: Robbie Savage, Mark Hughes, Simon Grayson. It really does feel like it's I think it shows the level and illustration of the level and what people kind of think of it, and how much it's kind of grown in the last few years, that people like that are happy to be involved in it.
Yeah, massively. I mean, in terms of not just the player quality that we've seen come in over the last few seasons and continue to come in, but as you say, the managers as well. I mean, who would have thought, a few years ago that Mark Hughes and Robbie Savage would be managing in the National League. Simon Grayson, we've had Steve Cottrell last season. Big successful managers, and they're all going to go head to head. And York City as well. Let's not forget York City and all they've done under Adam Hinshelwood. They've bought very well as well. They're well in the equation, and next season's going to be really, 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 really tight, but fascinating to watch.
Yeah, good week in the Hinshelwood household, isn't it? With Jack Hinshelwood obviously being part of that England under-21 success there, and then you got Alex Scott was in that team as well, who's playing in the Isthmian League not actually all that long ago for Guernsey. An amazing sort of success story for them as well. But yeah, York are going to be the signings they've made have really, really sort of shown their intent, as we all sort of knew anyway, adding to what was already a very good squad that obviously racked up 96 points last season. So yeah, it's kind of, as I said a couple of weeks ago, hard to call really, and you'd say York are probably are the favourite as we're sat here today. But it would be,
I think they're the team to beat. I think Carlisle come down in a very decent position. I was impressed by Forest Green and the ambitions they've got. Robbie will ensure that they won't be far away, and what was another interesting bit about the conversation was the pressure. I mean, he was in a pretty secure seat at Macclesfield there, but he was very quick to state, I know the pressure's on me. If he doesn't go well in the first 3 months, then all eyes will be on him, and that's probably not a position that he's been in before as a manager, and that's something he's going to have to get used to and adjust to, and it'll be interesting to see. I think he's going to need to get off to a good start. In fairness, I think he knows that, and I
think he's really always been on that sort of. He's kind of always been in that sort of spotlight. People want him to fail, isn't he? Because as a player, kind of
I think because of the character he is, maybe.
And he's sort of obviously he's great on the radar, and people love him or hate him kind of thing, and he obviously sort of knows that and plays along with that, and he is a great sort of character in in football, which is what the game needs. But he's kind of obviously lived with that sort of pressure, hasn't he, as a player, and that sort of scrutiny. And I find it interesting, kind of how I saw it with Salford City when they were the class of '92 sort of first came in, and you do sort of say, oh, there's a lot of pressure on there, but you're kind of forgetting that they've played in front of 60, 70,000 every week, and play for their countries, and kind of that live with that. And these people sort of kind of thrive on that, don't they? And trying to
they do.
Prove people wrong and show people what they're all about.
Yeah, I mean, he said a few times. He said, "I understand the game." Many times he said that, and of course he does. He knows. He knows there will be pressure at some point. He knows it's not all going to be plain sailing. There's going to be good periods and bad. And I think it will be a little bit shocked. I mean, bear in mind he is a media mogul as well, and he's sometimes the one applying the pressures to some of these managers. All of a sudden, it's it's on the other end now. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But he's a class act, Robbie Savage, and I think he'll take it in his stride.
Yeah, well, obviously we get the fixtures next week, don't we, for the National League? See what comes there. The FA Cup and FA Trophy and FA Vars our first couple of rounds are out this week as well. So it's all feels like the season's sort of ever fast approaching. Obviously, there's been not so great news with Morecambe and the situation that's been going on there, and the sort of the ownership wrangling. I thought the sort of takeover kind of was about to go through, and then obviously with the current owner of the Bond Group Investments, it sort of hasn't at the moment, and all the current board of directors are sort of basically effectively been resigned off. So there's kind of a lot to sort of see what happens there, and not a good sort of situation for their fans at the minute, and obviously a lot of concern and worry about that before they come again back into the National League. And obviously we're kind of getting to that a bit more in the paper on Sunday. But I think it's one thing that's kind of interesting is we're talking about the 3-Up campaign and all that, and it just sort of serves as a reminder of how many clubs the National League kind of has to take that are kind of do come down in real difficulties, how they kind of rehab in non-league and then go back up so much stronger. And I think that sometimes gets a little bit forgotten that the National League does have to take on some tricky situations that kind of aren't of their doing at all. And there's got another one on their lap now of Morecambe that they're going to have to obviously resolve and help. But there's lots of good examples, and one just gone up, Oldham, and Southend now in a much healthier position than when they came down. And that's kind of what the National League and non-league football can kind of do for clubs is, when you do come down in these really difficult situations, that there kind of is a bit of light, and hopefully that can hopefully, in time the fans can get their club back and get happy watching them again and winning games of football.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're right to say we've had a few of them where there just seems to be the word dumping ground's been used before. It kind of is. It's not a particularly nice phrase to use, but it is really. Look at Bury. Bury about to start all over again. Macclesfield, we've just been talking about Macclesfield again, a prime example.
Macclesfield, they make sure, the EFL make sure that they got Macclesfield out of the league, and then it's kind of like not their problem, and then the National League have to.
That's it.
Sort it out, and non-league has to sort it out and take.
Non-league sorts it all out. Yeah,
get these things done, and then send up.
Scunthorpe was another one, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's been lots down there. Chester City, go back to Chester City from quite a few years ago when they came down, they had real issues, and again they came down with those issues. And halfway through the season, they've obviously they went to the wall. Mid-season, those expunged results that affected people. I remember like Ebbsfleet and Liam Daish was absolutely furious about it because the clubs had kind of voted them in the first place. Because what you're going to do, you're not going to vote the death of another club. And then later on in the year, they were getting expunged and Ebbsfleet had taken up quite a few points off them. I remember speaking to Liam Daish a few years after that, and he said, people say he's still bitter. So, well, quite right, I am, because I've got club got relegated because of that, and it wasn't on. So I think it's, there's lots of sort of talk about, 3 up, and I think from the Football League point of view, it's like no brainer. You think, well, you take up 3 really good clubs, and we can, cast off some other ones who are struggling, because by the nature of it, you often are because of relegation. That's why you're down there, because you've got things going on. So. Hopefully, obviously, feel for Morecambe fans, because there's a pretty dreadful situation that they find themselves in. And a lot of concern and fear. But
doesn't look good, does it?
Yeah, hopefully they can kind of come through that, and we can have sort of some.
I just hope. I mean, it looks unlikely now, but I just hope that it's a season without sort of points deductions and any more behind the scenes sort of wranglings that could affect other clubs. It looks probably likely that's going to be.
There's talk of them going to administration, wasn't there? Yeah, but whether that happens,
with administration, etc. It does look likely that it's going to come to that, which is a shame, because you want everyone to start on a level playing field, but rules are rules, and Morecambe unfortunately have fallen foul to them, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, hopefully that doesn't quite come to pass, and we'll see what happens there. Someone we'll sort of keep monitoring, but there will be it will be interesting to kind of see how that pans out, and that again not sort of great preparation for them at all either, because the all that sort of uncertainty, not just for the fans but for the players and the staff there as well, and everything that's kind of been going on doesn't help get into the new season. But as I say, it's fast approaching. There's a few more pre-season friendlies kicking. Clubs getting on their pre-season campaigns underway this week. And my question to you, Couchy, is: have you ever seen a decent pre-season game?
Yeah, a few over the years. I don't actually mind pre-season. I quite enjoy. I quite enjoy the pre-season atmosphere. The nice and relaxed. I'm getting visions of the sun out. Having a beer I just enjoy that nice, cool, relaxed atmosphere. And every now and again, you'll see someone. You'll see someone sort of shine, and you think, "Oh, well, have a look at that kid." I remember going to Farnborough once, and many years ago, and I was in the press box there as a young reporter, and they were playing Southampton, and young Southampton lad was next to me, and young lad warming up, and he said to me, "Hey, look at this kid coming up here." He said, "He's 14 years old." He said, "You look how good he is." And I tell you what, he come on. He scored 2 goals in about 5 minutes, I think. And it was a young Theo Walcott. And I'll always remember that, because I remembered his name after that. And of course, 2 years' time, he's in the England squad, and he's in a World Cup England squad. And I mean, how his career escalated. I think Gareth Bale played in that team as well. And there were a few others. So I mean, every now and again you'll get games like that you'll remember. Yes, I get your point. The whole trialist A, trialist B. Oh, that's pretty tedious at this time of year. And that's where we're at in July. Team sheets are pretty pointless.
Letters. It always reminds me a few years ago we had a bit of fun with it with the paper. I think it was trialist H. I think he was at Tranmere Rovers, and pretty sure he scored 4 goals, and he was only known as trialist H. And we did a front page. We've got a nice picture of him, trialist hotshot. We coloured up the H of hotshot in red. I mean, who is this man? It turned out it was Johnny Margetts, who then signed and then has gone on and scored a lot of goals in non-league. But it was quite funny, kind of this, trying to keep a player on the wraps, and then he goes and scores 4 goals and gets his mug on the front page of the non-league paper. So we'll be
Reece Brown coming through at Aldershot. He was on trial, and he come on at Basingstoke once and scored 2 goals to turn a 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 win, and it was like a big secret, because Aldershot didn't want it released that Reece Brown was on trial there, and so I was sworn to secrecy, but I think everyone knew who it was.
But you have to sometimes wonder if the manager sort of says, go out there, do well, but just try not to score.
Don't be too good.
But that will be interesting. It will be interesting, sort of as pre-season goes, and kind of who else kind of it's always kind of the sort of excitement of pre-season, and people do get a bit carried away with certain results and things here and there, don't they? There's always kind of slightly funny ones, but as pre-season goes on and more kind of get up and running, it will be it'd be interesting to see how people are shaping up for that big kick-off on, well, August the 9th for the majority of non-league, FA Cup the week before, and some step 5 and 6 leagues are kicking off the week before that in July as the season starts in July these days. But yeah, we've got those FA Cup, those early rounds coming up, and they're always quite exciting as well. That sort of really feels like when the FA Cup gets going. I know there's
really early this year as well.
The media don't think it starts till January, but as we know here, it's first weekend of August, and that'll be exciting to see who goes on these big runs this year, and where those cup heroes are going to be, because even sometimes a step 5 club getting just through a few rounds and getting a big step 3 or step 2 club can be a massive thing. So it'll be interesting. Be interesting to see where we end up in the coming weeks, because we've had some pretty good FA Cup ties and runs down the year that we've covered, haven't we? Between us,
fantastic. I mean, the last two 3 seasons, I've been to. I saw Tamworth Tottenham, which was fantastic. I went to watch Maidstone at Coventry. Couple of years before that, we won't mention the Ipswich game before that, but
what happened there?
Oh, I can't remember.
You're outing yourself as an Ipswich Town fan. But, I did have the pleasure of being at Portman Road that afternoon, I must say, and yes, I did cover that.
Yeah, I know.
I was able to give you. I was able to give you very swift live updates as Sam Corn put in the second.
I think I was watching it. I was watching it on my phone, live on my phone. I think, which
surely a non-league paper. It was on a Saturday. Surely a non-league paper hat said you wanted Maidstone to win it. Surely, but I've seen a couple of good
professional head.
Yeah, very professional. Always all ultra professional. I've seen a couple of good Ipswich games in the FA Cup. I saw Lincoln draw up at Portman Road a few years ago in that 2-2, I think it was, and obviously
beat them at home.
Back in the days of the of replays, and Lincoln beat them at home, and then went on to
Nathan Arnold, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, Nathan Arnold scored, and then I think they played Brighton in the next round. I was lucky enough to go to that one, and then beat Brighton with Chris Hughton in charge then, and then they went to Burnley, and that famous game where Sean Raggett squeezed this header in the last sort of seconds of the game to knock out a Premier League side was it was incredible. And then playing Arsenal, I remember going to Arsenal in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. I mean, this is absolutely bizarre to be covering a non-league team in the quarterfinals.
I did it with Sutton Arsenal.
Was that the same year? I thought it was the same year. Yeah. Was it the year before? I don't know if they played in the same season. I think they played Sutton around before. Can't remember now.
Just remember, Arsene Wenger and his Arsenal team coming down to Sutton, and they were class act that day. They were. It was just the way they handled themselves. Very, very difficult situation in tiny dressing rooms. And I just remember after I was speaking to one of the Sutton staff, and he said they left it absolutely spotlessly, and everything they did that day was just so professional and classy, and it was an important day for Sutton, but it was in retrospect, for Arsenal, it was just another day at the office. But the way they handled themselves was
I think that's when we were Danny Cowley saying how good Arsenal were to them when they were in the FA Cup down there as well, and the time they sort of got with Arsene Wenger afterwards. And it'll be somebody this year. We've had Bournemouth going up to Everton a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah, I was there for that one. Yeah.
It's kind of, there'll be somebody this year. Who that will be? It will be.
Probably be Bournemouth again. Bournemouth are notorious for getting.
It'll be Bournemouth and somebody who could sort of who get to the third round or beyond this year. But I always like these early rounds. I always like these early rounds of the FA Cup, because they serve up some great games, and it's that excitement of being a part-time footballer in the same competition. I think we put it in the paper last week, didn't we? All the names of the teams in the FA Cup, and you think, wow, it's kind of bizarre to sort of see Ashton United next to Aston Villa in there, and kind of in that same competition. That's what makes it so special, and I hope people sort of remember that and realise that, because it does still mean so much to non-league non-league clubs, and even in these early rounds, I've seen some absolutely brilliant games in the opening round. I think it went to Manchester against Lakenheath, I think it was a few years ago, and that was a great game. So yeah, there's always exciting to see those draws come out and start plotting real competitive football again. So we'll have all those in the paper on Sunday. So make sure you go out and grab your copy of that for the full rundown of the FA Cup opening extra prelim and prelim round, and then the opening 2 rounds of the Isuzu FA Trophy and the Isuzu FA Vase. So looking forward to that. We've got plenty of other bits in the paper this week as well, haven't we? And it's starting to build up nicely to the new season, and looking forward to it already. I'm already missing it. Already missing that competitive.
Yeah, very much so. But I mean, if you look, we're only really looking at another 3-4 weeks before it kicks off. You talk about the FA Cup. That's on the 2nd of April. There's a number of
2nd of August.
Sorry, is it April or August?
We're trying to get the season out of the way already.
Yeah, and there's a number of clubs who are kicking off their Set 5 and 6 campaign the week before. So you're talking about I think it's July 26th.
About 4 Saturdays, about 3 weeks.
That's 4 Saturdays. So it's really crept up on us pretty quickly, and next thing you know, we're back in full swing again. So it's fascinating stuff.
We look forward to that. We look forward to kind of keep chatting on here as we go through and get some guests on in the build up to the season. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for tuning in. As I say, if you can like and subscribe, we really appreciate it, and all the nice feedback and comments that we've had as we keep building this YouTube channel up and making it as good as we can. So we're still learning on the job. As we said last week, we're YouTubers now. We're influencers. Have Love Island been in contact with you yet, Couchy?
Not yet. No, I'm waiting by the phone.
Yeah,
Harry Cooksley's in there at the moment. I think he's just ahead of me in the pecking order.
Yeah, the fact you know so much about Love Island is one of the most concerning.
Love Island correspondent. Yeah,
you are. It's quite worrying how much you know about it. But there we go.
I'm ready to give another guy, Dijon Noel Williams, who's doing very well as well. It'll be interesting to speak to him when he comes out. I've got I'm ready for him to come out. So hopefully, the non-league paper will get the exclusive of him. He's doing well in there.
I can't wait for that. I'm already excited about it. I can't wait. And you're definitely the man for the job. But good to speak, Couchy, and
you, mate.
We'll soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.
Take care, everyone.